Welcome to Housing Matters. I'm Trish Jakeman.
And I'm Sebastian O'Hara. Today we've got Todd and Paul on exploring all things beyond the bricks and mortar, from Halloween haunts to Easter egg hunts.
And also how our communities provide critical networks for our families. Welcome to Housing Matters. Could I ask you to introduce yourselves, please?
Yeah. So my real name's Simon Martin, affectionately known as Todd. I'm Captain Martin. I'm currently the welfare officer at the Mission Ready Training Centre at Basingbourne Barracks. For the old and bold amongst us, it's the OPTAG training or pre-deployment training. And I also, because the rest of NATO, all double hats, I've got another job which is also the careers officer at Mission Ready Training Centre. And I've been doing a lot of work recently with DIO, just bringing the SFA, just bringing it along. It's been a really good news story for us.
Brilliant.
So look forward to sharing it.
Yeah, well, I'd love to deep dive into that. And so just give us an idea of sort of breadth of career. Because you only look 21 to me, but I'm sure you've done a few more years.
Unfortunately, I've done 27 years.
Wow.
I'm a member of the Household Cavalry Regiment, Household Cavalry, and been serving 27 years from Bosnia all the way through to Afghanistan, and with a hint of troop in the colours, etc., that goes on around it as well.
And how many moves? Or have you stopped counting?
Yeah, I've stopped counting. I've stopped counting.
We should probably do that every.
Yeah.
We need to make sure.
Because it could be an award for who's done the most moves.
Have a think as we go.
Have a think as we go. You count them up, and we'll come back.
Yeah.
Paul, over to you.
So, Paul Carney, I work for Pinnacle Service Families. I've worked with them for about a year now, and I have a broad portfolio. So I look after when things tend to go wrong. So our case management team, our high-profile team that delivers to the likes of yourselves, to our politicians, and just gets after those bits and pieces where things fall between the cracks, and that we can look after people with I suggest some of the best people in our company. And then I have some other bits. So I look after our social value, I look after our health and safety, and our customer experience. So it's a broad portfolio. But I came from Pinnacle after like a really long career in the army, and so I'd done 29 years of service, and I was quite fortunate that I finished as the Army Sergeant Major, which was basically a position that advises the head of the army and other generals on what it feels like to be at the ground level, and make sure that their voices are pushed all the way to the top. So really privileged, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And how many moves?
So I'm in double figures. I think I said 14 last time, and I've done a bit of counting back between me and my wife, because we come from different relationships and we joined up. So we had 10 together, but we had a few before that as well. So
yeah, well,
we know SFA quite well.
Yeah, I bet you do, yeah. And so we're going to have a bit of a conversation today about communities in particular, which I think is really, really important, because I think, I can only imagine when you move into a new area, and we know that often for our service families, it's not just a new home, it's new schools, it's new doctors, it's new jobs, it's all of those things of just like your lived experience of why communities are so important for families. And Paul, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think I will. And because I've been in many of those communities, and me and Todd probably go back to when people sort of refer and rose tint when we were all together, and we lived together, and we done things together, and we know the time before the internet, and times where you had to pull together as a community and you had to look after each other. And I always try to get through to people that when you think about a service family, you've got to remember that they've been pulled away from their support networks.
Yeah.
So their families, the friends that they've gone to school with, and if that isn't hard enough that they've been pulled away from that, then the person that pulled them away tends to go away on an operation, and so they're by themselves. So the importance of a community and building that quickly, as I said, like their friendships may have come from school and been built on decades.
Yeah.
Now they've got a sort of fast pace there, and they've got to get that relationship built in weeks and months.
Yeah, and just I'm going to pull that string a little bit more. So how can, particularly in the role that you're doing at the moment, how can we help families when they move into that area? And exactly as you say, they're having to start sort of the building blocks, again, of like sort of the friends, the support network. How are you helping them do that?
So I think we kind of got it on a two tier. So there's the bit of the job I don't own, which is our housing officers. They almost become an instant friend to our families, and we've done a lot of work to say, look, this is your named housing officer from the Consumer Charter last year, so that people don't end up sort of rotating through different people every time. They've got a name, they've got a face, and they know, and that builds them straight into the community, and that can allow them to connect them to other people. And then we have our second bit, which is our sort of social value proposition, where for us, we're trying to concentrate on what are the things that happen to families that doesn't happen to a normal civilian family. And so we've got an element of that where we do community action plans. So we create events to hopefully draw people out of their houses, come and join us, from things like litter picks around the estate, to refreshing community buildings, building WhatsApp groups and connections. And so rather than trying to reinvent the wheel for every new family, it's creating these hubs and opportunities to pull them in.
I think that's really important, isn't it? The time outside of the house, meeting people out on the patch beyond the home is something really valuable. Todd, from your perspective, what does that feel like from your lens?
So it's really good to have a single point of contact. I mean, going back, being old and bold, it was Cuddy and Amy. Then it turned. Now it's you got DIO, you got Pinnacle, you got everybody else. So having a single point of contact for the community is really good. It helps a great end, and they will lend a hand or throw things at an event which wouldn't normally wouldn't think to ask. From buying, we can buy it. We'll supply you the Easter eggs. You're like, can you? Surely you're here to fix the the plumbing, or it's like, we put some money together. We can sponsor an event, etc. So
it's interesting because the housing, the importance of the single housing officer through the charter commitments last year. I mean, it was one of the suite of commitments, wasn't it? And I'll be really honest, it wasn't one that I think it's the one I hear talked about so often. Yeah. And the importance from a family's perspective and a welfare perspective, and having that named person and a phone number that people can access to go, I need a thing. I need to know where the swimming pool is. I need to know whether the bath's open at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. on a Sunday, so I can get the kids out of the house, because, as we say, a serving person's potentially landed, moved in and deployed. Yeah. How does it feel from your perspective, Todd, at the moment? Does it feel like we're in a good moment and we're really driving after that and there's improvement going on?
Yeah, there's always room for improvement, but we have come leaps and bounds. I can't say how good my recent experience has been. We had a bad reputation for our married quarters, just weren't up to the required standard. Bit of campaigning, bit of drumming support, and our voices were heard, and it's been revolutionised, and it's done no end of good for our guys and girls who are currently posted there, because within the community, because we're not a regular normal unit, spouses, service personnel will know someone there, or know of someone, and they'll reach out and say, "I'm coming to Bassingbourn Camp. What's it like?" And the reputation has been enhanced. Yeah. As much as I can go around and say, come to Bassingbourn, we can do this, we could do that. If the reputation's not good for the service families, you're fighting a losing battle.
And I think that's something that we as DIO really recognise in the work that we have started, and we're through the strategy and the work we're trying to get after. The importance of the quality of the home, and how important that is for the family unit is so important, isn't it?
I think a good thing with sort of having Todd here as well, and where he's located at the moment. So he's come from a very tight-knit unit with the Household Cavalry, and certainly whilst I was still serving, they predominantly were based out of Windsor, and then they moved to Bulford, which was the first move for a long time, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that was a really big deal. I remember that being, if you're going to pull someone out of Windsor, which is a pretty nice place, close to London, close to amenities, and then put them in the middle of Wiltshire, then you need to be doing it right. And I think it was reasonably successful because of the estates that they were going into. But now Todd's in a unit where it doesn't necessarily have that close proximity where everyone grows up together. They're all ones and twos that get posted in as individual instructors, all different cat badges. And so there's another community that you need to build there, because actually building a community as a household cavalry is a relatively easy thing. Lots of history, lots of people growing up together. So Todd will have friends that he's spent 20 odd years with, been around the world with, and their partners might have done the same. Whereas now he's in a unit where there might be a chance that no one's ever met each other before, and so that acceleration again is important.
And I think because I came to Basingbourne last year, and I remember like you doing this talk, and like it really sort of opening my eyes, because we know how the Facebook pages work of like, what's it like there? It's rubbish. Yeah, don't come. And actually that can be the stopping block then of them coming and see. It's at that lens that we're not just building good homes for families. We're building homes that are attractive for other families to build the community, and that's got to be so important when you're in that sort of ones and twos of people coming in, that you sort of have that volume coming in, so that you've got that opportunity to build friendship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want our guys and girls to go back to their parent units or cat badges and say, honestly, you want to go get yourself to there, because it's a great pace of life. You know what you're doing, you're instructing. You've got a set forecast of events, you know what's coming. And the camp is wonderful. We're championing it at the moment, saying it's the best kept secret in NATO.
And I just...
not after now. There's all the podcasts.
Hopefully.
Everyone knows.
And I just... there was something you said earlier about the Easter egg thing, and that really sort of caught me a bit, because I think there can be the value of that. It can be so important, because it can be that Easter egg hunt can be the thing that pulls a family outside
for the first
with their
time.
children.
Yeah.
Then it can be the thing that connects them with the family next door that they've not even spoken to. And so just talk to me about like those community events and the impact.
So the worst thing about trying to organise something is the fear of is anybody going to come? Whether it's a mess do, whether it's a day out. So you think is anybody going to come? Will they enjoy it? Am I going to get chest poked by someone saying, "Oh, you could have done this better, you could have done that better"? So when you're organising something, and somebody will say, "What are you doing?" and we say, "We're doing an Easter egg next Tuesday." Say, "Oh, we can supply you Easter eggs and supply you with the cutouts, supply you with the colouring." And you're like, and it's not something you expect immediately from the contractors, if you will, the support network. And it does. It just brings the community together. Whether it's they say, "Oh, we can pay for the barbecue. We can do anything that we can to help improve the community feel, and just get, like you say, get people out of the houses."
And I think the thing for me is it's not so much the paying for it; it's the sentiment element. It's the wanting to be involved in it, and there's things that I've seen in the last couple of years where it's the time and the effort is actually the thing that I think resonates the most. Tell me if you differently, but it's the thing that matters. It's that actually there is an element of care here. We know there's lots of challenges, there's lots of stuff we've got to get right, and lots of things we want to try and turn on. But actually, the sentiment and the will and the want, that's the thing that families really, they see that, and I think that's the thing that is really important for me.
And it becomes infectious. I think that's so as Todd said, suddenly I'll give my neighbours a knock. Never spoke to them, but I know they've got children, so I'll give them a knock and see if they'll come down with me. And I think one of my favourite of recent is up in Catterick. They run a decorating your house Halloween competition. And so year on year, you're starting to see more and more houses decorated out, and the families are reaching out to each other to say, "Oh, where did you get those decorations?" Or "I love your house. Do you mind if we come this evening when you've got all the lights going and you've got the scary characters going off?" And as you said, Seb, it's not necessarily about the money. The rewards are bags of sweets, and but it's someone has created that opportunity to create an event, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, and how important do you think it is that suppliers really drive that social value in that sort of piece for families?
I think I think it shows that we care. So the
Yeah.
Pinnacle way, and I speak across all the contractors across FDiscs. We work together on a number of projects. So this isn't sort of Lone Ranger Pinnacle do all this, because actually we work closely with both Vivo and Amy and with DIO on all different projects. But I think if we have the opportunity to do it, it shows us that we're so much more. And Trish, you and me have talked loads of times about the reason I left the army was because of my career that I finished. But the reason I come into Pinnacle was because they cared so much.
Yeah.
And they had a real mission that this isn't about putting people in the houses and pulling them back out again and then putting them into another house. Actually, it's the bigger wrap. It's the understanding of what military families have to go through. And you might get some military families, and we regularly use the Navy, that might stay in an SFA for 20 years. And then on the flip side, you get one that's moving every 2 years. And so not only is it important to acknowledge those differences, it's important that we show we care, because having lived it, and I'm sure Todd will tell you the same, the impacts that has on families is really difficult. And I think they're only starting now to do the studies to understand the impact on children, on spousal careers, and so that's why for us as Pinnacle, the community action plans for us are fantastic, and we give that each region the freedom to do what they want, because each region will be slightly different. But actually we have a host of other programs like linking with other businesses to provide mentoring support to get spouses employment or to start their own businesses. We actively encourage employment from spouses, and if spouses work for us and they're part in the moves, we give them the same leave so that they're not hindered by losing out in that way.
It's a really good segue, actually, because I'm curious to scratch the itch around how are families embed within the communities beyond the patch. So conscious that we have families that we have certain parts of our houses are in patches, but equally there's a wider community there that is part of the general population. How does it feel for a serving family moving into a new area, whereby the immediate patch may be equally serving families, but that's embedded within a community that might not be, and those local communities recognise that there are serving families, and they know. If I as a civilian know where they would or wouldn't necessarily be in that local community, but what does it feel like for a serving family moving into a community that is blended? You've got the serving family cohort, but then you've equally got kind of the civilian cohort as well.
Yeah, so I mean, from a family perspective, it could be something daft as finding a new football team for your kids, or other, organised events, for whether it's Scouts, Cubs, Army Cadets.
Yeah.
It's and another thing. So having that in place, and we get guys and girls who lean in, from helping out the local football teams to, taking on Scout leaders posts randomly. And yes, we all laugh and joke and say, "Oh, it's for your S job" sort of moment, but it's actually for the wider picture. Is it helps invite their neighbours' kids to go to the football club, to go to the hockey club. So it's not just as much as we laugh and joke and poke fun at one another to say, "Oh yeah, you're doing this because of what's coming up with the appointments board," or
link to
it's so important, though, isn't it?
And I think it's different each place. So I live in Wiltshire now, and my wife works for the police, and they have a joke that if it's not a soldier or a farmer, then what else do you have in Wiltshire? and so in that sense, and you're in quite a closed area. If you think of Bulford, Tidworth, it is near enough all soldiers or retired soldiers. Yeah. But then you look at somewhere like Portsmouth, albeit it has a naval lineage through it. There's plenty of civilian clubs. There's plenty of ability to blend into civilian society. So hence the reason we go back to that regional bit, that it's got to be different for every area that we work in and operate.
Well, I think it's so important as well, because I think, as a parent, and we were chatting, he was at the swimming baths this Sunday, because that's what you do every Sunday. Every Sunday, that's his job, takes the little one swimming. And I was on about, like my daughter's played the piano since this age, you've got cadets and things like that. And I think if you're moving, it's the first thing a parent just wants to find some stability for their children, because you've sort of closed one set of clubs down. So I've got to get that. So it's so important, isn't it?
It's their norm, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that.
Norm.
So in my world, it's the Sunday morning swimming. Like you 2 or 3 roads away, you can't even see it, and it's we're on our way swimming, the families that I've spoken to, it's very much embedding the children within new clubs and getting that comfortable again, that norm again, really helps embed them within the new house that might not quite have the same furniture in the same area or the same layout, and it's different schools. It's a lot of change, and we intend to talk to the people that are really looking into it. It's the importance of getting that right for the family unit as well as the spouse. It's really, really important, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I've got a 23-year-old daughter now, and she's one of the most resilient women that I've ever met. And you put her in a room, and she'll make friends with near enough everyone there. So it is that. So I think children are almost a pathway for creating those greater connections.
Yeah.
But their ability when they're younger to make those friends, make those connections is unbelievable, and it does set them up for adulthood.
She must get that from you, Paul.
Yeah,
well,
I'm very shy. I'm a wallflower.
Shy's never going to be the word that I use to describe you. One of the things we were talking about earlier, and I just want to have a bit of a conversation around this, is, and Paul, we've talked about this a lot, and you must say this, is that we've got some really different communities of people out there. You have the very young families. Catterick's a really good example of that, where you have very, that sort of demographic, it's very young families. Gurkhas, we have families that don't move around very often, and just sort of how you tailor that sort of community support. And I know we've been doing some work in the housing officer space. Could you just talk about that a little bit, Paul?
Yeah, so we're it sounds, if you say it cold, segmentation sounds really bad, but it's more about understanding those different needs, and we can be we're all senior people here. We can sometimes have a bias that everyone knows how to look after a house, everyone knows how to build into a community, and I'm a person that married very young in the military, and you see it quite a lot, and so having understanding who comes to the door of that new house is really important. So we're spending some time to look at how we understand that. We're looking to extend the time that we have on our first time movers in to help explain the house a little bit more, because every house is different. If you think of what we've got at Bazenbourne now, it might be the first time people have seen air source heat pumps. And some of the other technology there, whereas some of our older properties need different ways of living. And so that's sort of one example. But then we look across, and I'll use the army because that's what I know, but you have a large Gurkha community, you have a large foreign commonwealth, which includes Caribbean and Fijian soldiers and their families, and their dynamics are all really different. And so we could quite easily just say, hey, a soldier's a soldier is a soldier, or a sailor or an aviator, but actually helping understand the dynamics of their relationships and how we can support that. And young Gurkha families are a prime example. The chances are the partner won't be able to drive when they first move over from Nepal. So when we look at housing, we're looking to embed them into a community where they're going to provide the support for them already, rather than here's a free house, it's in the middle of nowhere, and you're going to be alienated from the rest. So just trying to understand our people that we house a little bit more means that we can hopefully provide a better service to them. And again, it goes back almost to that social value piece of how we frame our social value propositions. So Easter might be one thing, but for a Gurkha community, one of their festivals might be something different.
Yeah, and that's so important. And you must, from a sort of welfare officer point, you must really see the value in that.
Absolutely, yeah. We got, I mean, as well as everything else that we provide, we have is understanding the culture, knowing who within their cohort to go to.
Yeah.
So got another family coming from Fiji.
Yeah.
Chances are they know with them already
Yeah.
because of their within the cohorts,
Yeah.
the senior cohort. They know of them, and they welcome them
Yeah.
really well into their own community and into the grander Basildon community as well.
Really curious. How do you manage the language barriers in those spaces? So we talked about spouses might not always have the ability to drive, so kind of proximity to local transport links is really important. But there's a real challenge there with language, surely.
Yeah, it can be a challenge, but like fortunately I'm blessed because I've got a senior cohort of mainly senior NTOs, and he will explain what the issue is. He will take away the passion of what the complaint is or what the issue is, and then explain it to us, and then we can then go forward in action with them in the room. So it's not like
But that's a layer of complexity that we're adding into this,
Yeah,
isn't it? To
absolutely.
be clear that we're able to articulate, and our families are able to have a way in which they can explain what it is, that it could be a complaint, it could be a compliment, it could be one of those two things, whatever they may be.
Fabulous.
And I think with, again, going back to the named housing officers, that starts to build the trust with those communities. So it might be that use the Gurkha community as another example. So a young Gurkha spouse might have limited English, but she'll tend to go to a more senior person in that community.
Yeah.
And because they've lived and breathed it, they're more likely to reach out to us to then get the support that they provide.
Look, Todd, Paul, a fantastic insight and really interesting. It's really important, isn't it, getting these communities right? And it's really key for our families, for them to know who to access, where to get that access, and equally recognising there's so much out there that families can take advantage of, and a fantastic insight. So massive thanks from us. Thanks for coming today, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.